What do you think happens if I jump at this sign? Hit it, then fall down, right? So why does this happen? Dynamic props. A prop is a model placed into the game world. A dynamic prop is also a model placed into the world, but with the extra ability to move around or play animations. They are used for things like trains, the crocodile, or this fan. These props also have the ability to be set as solid or not solid. Sometimes they might impede gameplay. If this bush could stop you, it'd be really annoying. So mappers have the ability to mark any prop as not solid. Our sign of interest is a not solid dynamic prop, which starts off working fine. You jump into it and nothing strange happens. It's later when the first point is capped that it starts acting weird. The problem is the way the sign is swapped out, so the arrow points the other way. There's actually two separate props here, one sign that points left and one that points right. When the first point is capped, one of them gets hidden and the other visible. The problem here is that on top of making the new sign visible, the Valve mapper also included a second command to turn the sign's collision back on to solid, overriding the original setting for it to be not solid. But logically speaking, even if the sign is set back to solid, that shouldn't mean you get stuck in it. So what went wrong here? When the game loads the map and starts spawning in the props, if a prop is dynamic and it's set to be not solid, the prop is given the solid ob solid type and marked F solid not solid. F solid not solid is used to tell the game that players shouldn't collide with that prop, and at this point, it does correctly ignore player collisions. It falls apart when the sign's collision is turned back on by the map when the first point is capped, prompting the game to remove F solid not solid from the prop, leaving it as just a naked solid ob you can collide into. Normally, this just means that collisions are back on, and you start bumping into it, and that's it, no big deal. But solid ob is self-emitted in the comments written in the code by Valve developers to be not implemented yet, busted. And one of the ways it's busted is in how it's handling collision. When you're in motion, the game basically checks what's going to happen to you one tick later. If you're about to hit a wall, it finds out how far you can go, and put you just before you would clip into it. Solid ob actually carries out these calculations correctly, but there's literally just one tiny detail that the Valve developers forgot. When the game begins to calculate where to stop you in the next tick of movement, it first ticks a checkbox that tells the physics system you're stuck inside something. It then proceeds to do a bunch of math to figure out where to place you, such that you don't get stuck in the sign, and stops there. It forgets to untick the checkbox indicating you're stuck. So you're not even truly stuck, so to speak. The game just has a delusion that you are. So that's why the sign has super glue on it. They mark you as stuck and forget to undo it. But thankfully, the game has a safety net that sets you free after some time, so it's alright. Except it isn't. If you jump at it from below, you'll never be freed. You actually must get a heart attack to resume playing the game. When you're stuck, the game starts checking if you would be freed if you were to be nudged in different directions. Just down, then just up, then left, then right, etc. At first, these imaginary test nudges are only by 0.125 units. Then it escalates to, what if we move you up by 6 units? What if we move you different combinations of left, right, forward, back by 2 units? If it finds an answer, it executes on that plan. If not, it runs this in a loop from the same starting position, hoping the next time it checks, the result will be different. In total, it only ever considers the possibility of freeing you through a downward nudge once, and that's by 0.125 units. That nudge is too small to clear a 1 unit buffer in the code that checks if you're stuck in an object, hence you're here forever. This issue affects every dynamic prop in general, so there's actually 2 other broken props on Upward. This sign that appears at the end of the cave, and this sign here outside of last. Unticking the stuck indicator is literally 1 line of code, and if I add it in, the sign's collision works fine and I don't get stuck. Alternatively, Valve could also just edit the map to not send that command to enable the sign's collisions, which works too. If solid ob is busted, why use it? In the code for setting up dynamic props, they wrote a comment which basically says that the reason for using type solid ob is due to dynamic props being able to rotate, and solid ob has extra code implemented that makes the hitbox of the prop rotate correctly. If we use solid bbox instead, this appears to be true. The sign's hitbox always faces north, and we can visually phase through it. But if we use solid vphysics, it seems to work fine. So this kinda looks like a case of old code that got left behind, and Valve forgot to update it when they later created vphysics. Plus, besides dynamic props, solid ob is never used anywhere else in the code. The one other thing that uses solid ob is the dispenser's screen. And finally, what happens if you fall on it? Nothing special, just hold away and you'll be free.
Really worrisome. We end up stuck